In today's Retro Style Spotlight, we'll take a look at a few emulator updates. I'll show off a Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Gauntlet ROM hacks. We'll talk about the Secret of Mana remake, a few new retro video game releases coming soon, a Resident Evil Demake, an interview with famed Nintendo developers about Star Fox 2, and a portable PS2, all coming up today on RSS. Thank you to all my patrons who are helping make this show a reality. If you'd like to help support me do this and many other ventures, then head on over to the Patreon link in the description below. At just at least $2 a month, you get several perks, and you help me immensely. Being a solo creator, every dollar that you guys pledge and donate helps more than you'll ever know. A special thank you to my patrons Alex Dubois, Draconis, Karen Storms, Twistar, and Gregory Contois. Thank you very much. In this week's Emulator Roundup, along with a ton of Git updates for various emulators and tools, CEMU has now reached version 1.9.1, and MESEN has reached version 0.9.2. For those that are unaware, CEMU is a famed Wii U emulator that is gaining popularity quickly for its quick turnaround in performance and accuracy, while MESEN is a fairly new emulator on the scene that is trying to become the best and most accurate NES and Famicom Disk System emulator available. The updates for each are impressive, so check them out in the links below. On the RetroArch side of things, Sheep It Up is a Game Boy homebrew game that is now available from RetroArch's built-in content downloader for free. This is a feature I feel most don't talk about, but you can find a lot of free and shareware content for various systems ready to download in there. Otherwise, the RetroArch devs are excited to share that finally, at last, PPSSPP has a new build in the RA BuildBot. This new build is available for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. There have been several updates and a ton of changes have been made. Some things removed, some things added, but overall it's very promising that they're finally getting this core up to date with the rest of the software and up to par with the PPSSPP standalone. I'm not sure it's completely up to par, where you'd feel comfortable replacing the standalone with this version, but it's certainly coming along. If you're curious about the latest changes, the links to this and everything else so far is below. In the RomHack report, I've got two great looking games up for your consumption today. First up is a hack of Gauntlet for the NES entitled Hyrule Warriors. Obviously, this title takes inspiration from Hyrule Warriors, a Musou game on the Wii U and 3DS. Ganondorf, the evil Prince of Darkness, has stolen the Triforce of Power and has ordered his army of demons and goblins to defend the vault that he is keeping it in. Fucking rats in my ceiling, did Ganon send your asses too? My cat's name is Link, I'll have him kick your ass. The army is growing by the minute, and this time, it's not only up to Link alone. He's joined in the fight by Princess Zelda, Link's bodyguard Impa, and the energetic sorceress Lana. Can Link and his crew retrieve the Triforce back from Ganondorf, or will all of Hyrule fall into eternal darkness? This hack retextures Gauntlet in a very ingenious way, and offering it a story that I already liked. Next up, I can't seem to get away from this game series, but that's okay. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, the sequel, is now available and extends this formula even farther. Added to the long list of hacks this game has gotten over the last year, a total of 4 people across 8 months have worked on this, and added in 54 completely new levels, made from scratch, a side quest for completionists, reversed item cycling, a friendly NPC, a custom loot table, custom background palettes and sprites, and much more. This hack is a bit more advanced than the previous ones, and it shows. If you're interested in either hack, check out the romhacking.net pages below. I generally do like remakes and remasters of older games, but I think Square Enix is going a bit overboard now. Granted, a Secret of Mana remake does sound quite amazing. This is what, the 100th remake announced this year from them? Hyperbole aside, I am eagerly awaiting this PS4, Vita, and PC remake. It's slated for February 15th, 2018, and the new remake is set to add an arranged soundtrack, voice acting, and unspecified upgraded gameplay for the modern platforms, according to Square Enix. The graphics so far aren't bad looking, but they are certainly not setting the world on fire, and it seems to be lower end for a potential mobile release. At least that's the scuttlebutt and rumor kind of shuffling around the various websites right now. As long as it's better than their last remake that hit the Vita, I think we'll be good. In a quick bit of news, 6 TurboGrafx 16 games have just been rated by the ESRB for the Wii U Virtual Console. So, after several years, it does seem third-party titles are headed back to the Virtual Console service, and hopefully this will carry forward for the eventual Nintendo Switch Virtual Console. The 6 games that got ratings were legendary shooter Lords of Thunder, action platformer Legend of Hero Tanma, sports sim Digital Champ Battle Boxing, Konami Blaster Detana, Twin Bee, pool game Break-In, and last but not least, Power Golf. Video game demakes are utterly interesting to me, seeing games recreated in unexpected and inventive ways, usually because of the lower and weaker hardware that they're demaking it to. Today, I want to show off Resident Evil for the Sega Genesis. This demake has been available for a few months, but I am just now seeing this awesome bit. Currently, there's only a demo available through a Russian site, thanks for the help Google Translate, and it looks to be a beautiful looking isometric blend of 16-bit gaming with the survival horror aspects of this PS1 classic. With us being used to seeing Resident Evil 1 remade on the GameCube, then remade again for the current generation, it's interesting to see it go backwards instead of forwards for a change. Ignoring the slightly painful Resident Evil Gaiden on Game Boy Color, Resident Evil hasn't been 2D too often, save for, I believe, the Resident Evil port on DS. The team behind the game have said that work on this game was launched on July 12th this year, and after almost 2 months they released this demo for public review, which presents some features of the gameplay with several rooms and even a usable inventory. As for the future of development, they also go on to say, based on the engine used in this short demo, they will try to create a fully fledged game. Check out the site below if you're curious, and load up the demo in RetroArch post-haste. Speaking of demakes, there is now a homebrew 8-bit city management game for your Game Boy Color entitled uCity, but actually said Microm City, but spelled with the odd U character that uTorrent likes to use. Confusion out of the way, this title brings SimCity style gameplay to your Game Boy Color, I believe for the first time ever. The game utilizes a SimCity style special console UI that was specifically designed for a controller, but Microm City also adds plenty of new building choices, including hospitals, schools, high schools, universities, and even new energy sources, including eco-friendly, zero-pollution wind farms. I would love to see this game keep getting updated and see how this can progress for fans of this genre. Version 1.0 was released back in June, but there isn't a rule out there that says that they have to be done developing this game, so I'm curious to see what more can come of this, or if a Microm City 2 is in pre-production. I am very intrigued, so check it out in the links below and download it for free and load that up in RetroArch post-haste as well. I absolutely love it when aging game developers are interviewed and their points of view are preserved for future game developers. I love it even more when it just so happens to also be Miyamoto and anyone he worked with from the 80s until now. In that vein, Miyamoto, Imamura, and Watanabe sit down for a Nintendo-published developer interview. I believe, inspired by the Iwata Asks interviews, these three sit down and talk about Star Fox 2 and many of the challenges they had faced, and why the game is just now seeing the light of day. This is an amazing interview. Like I said, there are 2 or 3 generations of developers that are starting to age up, and like Iwata, sadly passing away more frequently now. I believe their words of wisdom should be preserved for as many people that want to hear it. And trust me, a lot of people would love to listen to these guys talk and talk and talk and talk, myself included. The interview has a ton of great information inside about Star Fox and Star Fox 2 and many of the different development hurdles that they faced, so check it out when you get the chance. Stuff like this doesn't happen as often as we want it to, so when it does happen, read it, watch it, listen to it, eat it up, save it, and then share it with your friends. Trust me, I believe that this stuff is going to be extremely invaluable for future generations. Hold on to it and preserve it for as long as you can. In the big story today, I want to showcase this awesome portable piece of hardware. Creator, G-Man, has taken one of the best-selling consoles in history, the PS2, and created the GS2, a portable PS2 console. We've seen consoles get portabilized in the past, but this might be the first PS2 portable. With a 5-inch screen, a 3 to 4 hour battery life, inside of a 3D printed case, and modified PS2 hardware, this is sexy. The GS2 took first place in BitBuilt's 2017 Summer Building Contest. and I can see why, hands down. G-Man did base this with original PS2 hardware, modifying the motherboard to fit inside of the case, but needing to ditch excess, like the DVD drive and components. Custom components did need to be used, like custom voltage regulators and a custom video encoder. As for no DVD drive, the build uses popular hacking mod FreeMCBoot to boot games from a hard drive or solid-state storage. The controls are hacked together from various other control schemes, including the PSP, Vita, a PS2 controller, and a generic Bluetooth controller. With a roughly 5-month development time, G-Man says that this is a one-of-a-kind and doesn't currently have plans to produce these in any official capacity. I'm not an exact fan of single-purpose handhelds, preferring emulation handhelds over cannibalizing original hardware just to make it portable, but a 1900 game library that is well beloved on the go, that is extremely tempting. I am certainly jealous of this, no matter how much I don't like cannibalizing good working hardware to Frankenstein this type of machine. My main gripe with cannibalizing hardware happens to come from that this hardware is getting older and it's starting to fail. We already see that there is clone hardware for the NES and the Super Nintendo, and portables like the Superboy S is using recreated hardware, not original hardware. Cannibalizing existing hardware is only going to make this stuff more expensive in the future, harder to come by. Now granted, the PS2 did sell a shit ton of units, so that is less likely in this type of situation, but who's to say that in 20 years, PS2 hardware just doesn't start to just fail left and right. So I'm of two minds of this. This thing is extremely sexy. It's a great engineering feat. Something like this is certainly very interesting to me, and it piques my interest. I sure as hell want one. Again, even though I do generally prefer emulation handhelds, but hats off to G-Man on this one. This is pretty damn awesome. So that was RetroArch Spotlight Episode 7. Most everything you heard in this episode can be found linked below in the description. Thank you to all my patrons over at my Patreon campaign, which you can find in the links below. I cannot thank every supporter enough. And if you want to become a supporter, remember, it's just starting at $2 a month, and every dollar severely helps. Thumbs up the video if you liked it, and thumbs it down if you didn't. Leave me a comment on how you think I'm doing, give me all your feedback, and tell me what you think about the stories in this week's episode. Just remember, keep it civil. Remember, Freaks and Geeks, to play more games, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good day.
Take a bite of that pineapple. Reflect